We're trying to glean data that's out there to see how the city of McCook is doing relative to other communities that are out there in the state of Nebraska economically. And so one of the things that Troy had found, and I have never seen this before, but I thought it was a really interesting study. The University of Nebraska Bureau of Business Research conducted just a sales poll factor review in August of 2021, so it's a couple years old. But again, we've never been contacted by the university as far as their findings. But the poll factor is important. It measures the economic viability and the share of captured sales tax that each community, and in this particular case, it's counties across the state of Nebraska, are able to collect. And the way that they figure this is they take the per capita taxable sales for the county and they divide it by the per capita taxable sales for the state. And anything greater than a 1 is considered to be really good. Anything less than a 1 is probably an area to work on. You're trying to collect as much sales tax as you possibly can. By doing that, hopefully you can keep your property tax request low. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been able to keep our property tax request at 34 cents compared to other communities that are around us that are cities of the first class that are at 40 to 45 cents. Truly, I think that the sales tax is what really has allowed us to do that. So looking at the study, and again, I got to give Troy Bronson credit because he's the one that found this, and Charlie is trying to find some updated data on this. So hopefully there's something else out there that the University of Nebraska has done. We've used MPPD numbers in the past, but I haven't seen anything from MPPD in a while. But the state average, like I said, where you want to be is anywhere above 1. I was just kind of comparing because they run down by county. So counties by population, including poll factor. And so I just started running down and looking at all the different counties. There are only 3 counties that have a higher poll factor than Red Willow County. And those counties are Hall County, Buffalo County, and Madison County. Hall County is at 1.588. Buffalo County is at 1.327. Madison County is at 1.571. And Red Willow County is at 1.304. And if you talk about average poll factors by population range per county, county population over 100,000, which is going to be your metro areas, they have an average poll factor of 1.070. County population between 20,000 and 99,999, they have an average poll factor of 1.008. And county population, this is McCook. McCook has 10,724 inhabitants. The county population between 10,000 and 19,999, the average poll factor is 0.722, and we're at 1.3. So we're doing something right here in McCook. You can say, okay, we're a little isolated, we're a ways away from other communities. You might have Hitchcock County and Frontier County and Dundee County and Furnace County, they're coming to McCook, which I think explains a chunk of it. But I also think there's something else going on. We have great restaurants, great retailers. We have great people. McCook's got a lot going for it. If you look at our parks, beautiful parks. I look at this new swimming pool that we're building. It's going to be a fantastic facility. We're going to continue to bring in this kind of money via the sales tax, which is going to allow us not only to keep our property tax requests down, but it's going to allow us to do really cool things into the future. So I just really wanted to highlight that. I think that it speaks volumes for our community, what people are willing to do. Like I said, whether it's businesses, individuals, people that are willing to come to McCook. Thank you to everybody that comes to McCook and spends their money. We really do appreciate it. Hopefully it helps Southwest Nebraska out, because what benefits McCook benefits Cambridge, benefits Trenton, benefits Bankelman. We're in this together, and I think this shows that we're really doing a good job of trying to stay as local as possible. So that's my bit of good news for the night. Hopefully people feel the same way about it. I don't have anything else other than that.
That's wonderful. Okay, great. Any other good news?
I mean, there's always good news, but I'll wait on this.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding a real estate purchase of real property owned by John D. Walters.
I move to recess as the city council and convene a public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comment with respect to a real estate purchase of real property owned by John D. Walters, legally described as part of the northwest quarter, northeast quarter, northwest quarter, southwest quarter, northwest quarter, and part of the southeast quarter, northwest, section 19, Township 3, range 29, west of the 6 p.m., Red Willow County, Nebraska, with the city attorney to act as hearing officer.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor vote yea, opposed nay.
We're on electronic.
Oh, now we're.
Oh, wait.
Oh, there we are.
Mine just says electronic voting.
Even at the bottom.
Yeah, scroll down, it's below there, Linda.
It
It's
is.
a long one.
It's coming.
Leah hides it.
There you go.
4 votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Okay.
There are 2 exhibits being offered for this hearing tonight. Exhibit number 1 is the city manager's report. That's 1 page. Exhibit number 2 is a notice of public hearing. That's also 1 page. I'll accept exhibits 1 and 2 into evidence, take comments from city staff, and then we'll open it up to public comment. Nate?
I know we had a special meeting, I think it was on May 22nd, or about that time, yeah, May 22nd, to discuss chronologically where we're at with the ballpark project. Just to kind of keep things short, we originally were looking at going west on Road 716, just west of, we're called Orschelns. I know it's not Orschelns now, but it's always going to be Orschelns to me. Heck, it's Wheelers to me. But out on 716, about an eighth of a mile, there was property that we're looking at to utilize for ballpark improvement project or a sports complex improvement project. Due to a number of factors, probably the most important of which is infrastructure extension. We've done some due diligence, and I appreciate all the work that Kyle has done with this and Pat's done with this. On the water side, it was determined that it was going to cost an additional $1.6 million to get water out there. Sewer is going to be another $1 million, which we do have budgeted as part of our wastewater treatment plant project at $600,000. But $400,000 less than what the anticipated cost would be to go ahead and run sewer out to this lot, this property. And then the big thing was the street improvements. What we knew was probably $8 to $9 million in improvements, but that doesn't include any highway projects. Last year, Tara, Kyle, Jessica Portner, myself, Greg Wolford, we worked on trying to get a raised grant, a planning grant approved. And during that process, we started talking about, well, we're going to need a roundabout on Highway 6 and 34 to make sure that we can turn into 383 safely. Would we have to add an additional turning lane on the Highway 83 that would allow for traffic that's traveling south to go ahead and get on the 716 without having any issues as far as impeding traffic in that area? There were just a lot of things and a lot of unknowns that we were struggling with. And also we were having some issues as far as trying to figure out how do you come to terms sometimes when reasonable people just don't see things the same way. And so we realized probably in August and September of last year, maybe even a little bit after that, that we needed to probably look at some other options, and that's when we contacted Mr. Walters to see if that property would be available. That property is located in northwest McCook. So both properties are northwest of McCook. Both of them are outside of our corporate boundaries, Both are within our ETJ, but this property actually is adjacent to the city. It has water that is located both on Q Street and also on Highway 83, so there'd be no additional water extension project. You have to build out laterals, but there's not going to be an extension project. Sewer is part of the wastewater treatment plant project that we've been talking about. I know I started talking to Mr. Walters about 5-6 years ago, as far as getting an easement ascertained, so that way we can start looking at building to the west. And then on the street side, you already have West Q Street that's improved, and you have Highway 83 that's improved. You have to talk about, entrance and exiting issues, but that's a lot easier than trying to develop county roads to make sure that it's meeting city standards. Additionally, this way we're going to be able to utilize our sales tax exemption. We're also going to be eligible for grants. We're finding that it was hard to get grants with our preferred method that we were originally discussing. So at the end of the day, everything taken in total, this makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to highlight probably the most important part, and that's the safety aspect for our kids. We don't have kids that are going to be traveling along Highway 83 or across Highway 83 and trying to figure out how do we make sure that we get them safely to a ballpark complex. They're going to be able to use West Q Street, which will take them away from highway traffic and hopefully make it easier and simpler for them to access. And so to us, it's a win-win-win-win-win-win. I don't know how many wins it is, but there are a lot of wins all the way around. So the past, I'd say 4 months, we've been trying to negotiate out prices. We appreciate our conversations with John. As mentioned in a later agenda item, we're looking at, based upon an appraisal and also on a lot of work that Tara and Kyle, who else is helping us? Charlie, he was helping access information as far as similar type sales or comparable sales in other communities, because we don't have stuff like this happen in McCook very often. This is kind of an anomaly for us. But we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what's a fair price, talking to developers, trying to figure out what residential and commercial lots go for, what we could do with this property. Could it be mixed use, residential, commercial, ballpark? How does this all tie in together? So we spent a lot of time looking at that. And so I feel like we're getting a very fair price. Considering what we're going to be able to do with this, I have no doubt that we're going to be able to make our money back as we start selling lots after subdivision occurs. We've been looking at ways to make sure that we can continue to perpetuate the ballpark, whether it's through naming rights or whatever the case may be. There are just a lot of opportunities out there. One of the nice things about this project now, as opposed to where we're kind of going with the other one, this is really kind of lending itself to being a turf project, which it needs to be, so that way we can access that ball field not year round, but if we have a big rain event, we're going to be able to utilize it then. One of the issues that we've had with the usage right now is we have people on there all the way from February to November. And so there's very little opportunity for our grass to repair itself over the course of the year, and so we're constantly playing from behind. On the turf side, I think you're going to see a lot of other towns that are interested in coming to McCook to play because turf is such a rarity, especially on this side of the state. I don't know if Kearney even has turf. I know that Patriot Park is a grass field.
Baseball field does it.
Baseball field, yeah. But as far as softball complexes, Patriot Park is a grass field. So it's going to set us apart from other communities. Like I said, we've been looking at this. We want to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. We passed the bond in November of 2022. We didn't want to move forward with something that was going to be a boondoggle. So we kind of put the brakes on, we put our heels on the ground and said, well, are there some other options that are out there? The other thing this does for us is it gives us practice area. We had a practice field south of McCook. We lost our lease to that, and because of that, we didn't have any practice fields. I don't know how many times Kyle has taken phone calls saying, where can our kids practice at? We need green space. And this provides us with 127 acres that we can use however we want to, but it's going to give us the ability to add practice fields. And it may be we don't know, we still gotta go through the process of figuring out what this is gonna look like. I see that Lance Gillen's out in the audience. You know, we've already started talking about forming a committee, so that way we, the city of McCook, can build it the way it's gonna benefit the citizens of the city of McCook and Southwest, which is really exciting for us. So we need the practice area. The one nice thing about this gives us a chance to expand into the future. So who knows what this is going to. We've never had that opportunity. We've never been able to find a piece of ground adjacent to McCook that we can expand to and say, hey, look, you know what? We're going to do this, 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 and this. New sport. You want to do or you want a skating rink? I'm not saying that's what we're doing now, but okay, we can look at doing a skating rink. I'm a big tennis guy. I'd love to see tennis. But it's a basketball guy. There are no basketball courts in McCook. This gives it very few. This gives us a chance to do some things like that we haven't been able to do for a long time. In addition to softball, baseball, and whatever else. Soccer is a big one we talked about. Partnering with the YMCA, partnering with the school. I had a conversation with Mr. Purdy today over at the college. They may be interested in purchasing some ground for their project. This has the ability to be transformative for the city of McCook. I look at this and I think about what this could do for our town. And my goal when I came to McCook, when I came back home, or when I took over as the city manager, down to 7,500 people. When I moved to McCook back in '87, we had 8,400 people. My goal was to get back to that number. I think we can exceed that number. We need to dream big. And I know Andy Long used to always talk about this is McCook's time, and I truly believe it is McCook's time. I don't have anything else. Kyle, do you have anything that you can think of?
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Charlie, anything you want to add?
Just
All
ready
right.
to go.
I think that concludes
Anybody want to
staff comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak tonight on this issue? Hearing none, I recommend we reconvene.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
I move to adjourn the public hearing to reconvene as the city council.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion, council? Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay.
For votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is approved in one motion. Any item listed on the consent agenda made by the request of any single council member or public in attendance be considered as a separate item under the regular agenda.
I have nothing to hold you on.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay, staff? Anybody in the public have anything to pull? Okay, do I have a motion?
On the consent agenda, I make a motion that we accept items A through F.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor vote yea, opposed nay.
For votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Okay, we'll move on to the regular agenda. Ordinance number 2024-3082, authorizing the issuance of combined utilities revenue bond in the principal amount not to exceed $9 million to pay the costs of improvements. I introduced ordinance number 2024-3082 by title and ask the clerk to please read the title.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance by the City of McCook, Nebraska of its combined utilities revenue bond series 2024 in aggregate principal amount not to exceed $9 million, prescribing the form and details of the bonds and the covenants and agreements to provide for the payment and security thereof, authorizing certain officials to determine the principal amount, the maturities, the interest rates, redemption provisions, the financial covenants, and other terms, and provisions relating to the bonds, and authorizing the sale and delivery of the bonds to the purchaser thereof, designating the bonds as qualified tax-exempt obligations, adopting certain post-issuance tax compliance and disclosure policies and procedures, with respect to the bonds, providing for the publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form and authorizing certain conditions and documents and prescribing other matters relating thereto.
Ordinance number 2024-3082 has been introduced, read by title, and I move that the statutory rule requiring readings on 3 different days be suspended.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Just briefly, well, just kind of wanted to give a history. I know we've got David Blau here and Pat Foggers here as well too, kind of chime in. But we've been working on our wastewater treatment plant update. When was it when we started talking about this, David? I mean, we talked about it with Jesse when he was here.
Yeah.
But it just takes a while for some of these things to move forward. The majority of our plant is extremely old. The newest component would be our UV station, which was built in 2006.
Well, the UV was more than that. That was, or the bath.
The bath would have been
is like
2006. The UV station was after that. But the majority of our wastewater treatment plant is circa 1970 or older. I know the clarifiers were built in the 50s, or some of the clarifiers stretch back to the 50s. And the process that we use, the rotating, the RBC process, I should get that.
Biological content.
Yeah, whatever it is. The RBC process, those discs have been operating for a long time, since the 70s, and we're seeing issues with it now. It's worked great. It does a great job of cleaning our wastewater, but we're losing discs, and our concerns are if we continue to lose discs, we'll be able to continue to meet all the requirements and mandates that we have. And as such, we began a process of selecting an engineering firm to help us with this. Back in 2022, Miller & Associates was the firm selected by this council. After the firm was selected, we started looking at different options. We looked at the MLE option, we looked at continuing to do what we were doing, and we looked at the SBR option. The council had a chance to look at different plants that used different options. We went to Lexington and Broken Bow. Lexington used the MLE option. Broken Bow used the SBR option. Based upon the conversations that we had and additional conversations that we had with Miller & Associates, Miller's had the information they needed to go ahead and start designing and planning what this may look like. So that way we'd have our PER ready for the council, which is the engineering report, giving you some guidance as far as what the cheapest way, which is always important, but also what would be the best way to try to make sure that we were accommodating McCook's users, ratepayers. And ultimately, the SBR method was selected by this council, and it's probably been maybe 7 to 8 months since we did that. Since that time, we've been looking at the financing of this and trying to figure out how to get this off the ground. There are no SRF funds that are available at this point in time. They won't be available until 2026. That's typically how the source of funding that we utilize for these projects, but there are other projects that are utilizing funds right now across the state that preclude us from being able to tap into that. So we, through our relationship with Miller's and Associate, we contacted USDA to see if that would be an option. USDA said yes, they've got some dollars that would be available. I think those dollars actually are coming from ARPA funding, but they are available for these kinds of projects. Based upon that, we started trying to figure out, well, how do we go about trying to finance this? Brad Slaughter's here. I'm going to let him kind of talk about the process itself and the way this is going to look. But we're looking at public and private financing. And so there are 2 different ordinances tonight. One is going to be for combined utility bonds. The other one's going to be for anticipation notes. The anticipation notes allow for a quicker bridge for us to get to the bonds, the combined utility bonds themselves. We've gotta have some liquidity right off the bat, that's the way that we go ahead and achieve that. And with that, I'll go ahead and I'll turn it over unless Pat or David have something they wanna add.
Hey folks, Brad Slaughter, thanks for having me out tonight. So yeah, as Nate alluded to, essentially, USDA came in and committed funds to you folks, but as part of that, they're on a recent kick where they like to see at least 50% participation from private funding essentially. And so for them to come in and fund about $7 to $7.5 million of your project, we needed to step in and fund the other $7 million. And so basically you have an ordinance in front of you, as Nate alluded to. The bond ordinance allows us to put permanent financing in place, so the private portion of permanent financing, and it allows Nate and Leanne and city staff to kind of work together on the structure and the timing of that as you folks need it as you work through the construction cycle. And we'll work with Miller Associates as well, just on your anticipated cash flow requirements, what have you. And in the note financing, the second ordinance, the note financing is specific as just the interim financing until USDA can step in. So the project will have to have a certificate of substantial completion before USDA will step in with their 40-year term. So they've committed the funds to you. The rate can't change on it, but they need interim financing or construction financing, which we'll provide you folks on an interest-only basis until USDA steps in. And I believe everything is getting approved through USDA, and I think you folks should be at 2 1/8 on the 40-year term for that, if you remember us talking about that last month. So, any questions about that at all? Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, are we ready to vote on the ordinance?
This is to
Did we suspend,
Yeah.
we're suspending
That's
the three readings
correct.
first, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, I
to
know,
it.
I know that.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
and
fine.
then we'll do the
That's fine.
final.
My bad.
Yes,
Got
yes.
Four votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
I move for final passage of ordinance number 2024-3082.
I second that. Any discussion?
I won't do that again.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. Okay.
Four votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Ordinance 2024-3082 is declared lawfully passed and adopted upon publication as required by law. Okay, next ordinance we have is 2024-3083, authorizing the issuance of combined utilities revenue bond anticipation notes. I introduced ordinance number 2024-3083 by title and ask the clerk to please read the title.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance by the City of McCook, Nebraska of its bond anticipation note series 2024 in aggregate principal amount note to not to exceed $8 million, prescribing the form and details of the notes and the covenants and agreements to provide for the payment and security thereof, authorizing certain officials to determine the principal amount, the maturities, the interest rates, the redemption provisions, the financial covenants, and other terms and provisions relating to the notes, and authorizing the sale and delivery of the notes to the purchaser thereof, designating the notes as qualified tax exemption, providing for the publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, and authorizing certain actions and documenting and prescribing other matters relating thereto.
You want it?
Yeah, I'll do it, look. Ordinance number 2024-3083 has been introduced, read by title, and I move that the statutory rule requiring reading on 3 different days be suspended.
Okay, any discussion, anyone?
Yeah, we got a second.
I got a second, yes, sorry. Okay, all those in favor vote yea, opposed nay.
Four votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Anybody want final?
I move for final passage of ordinance number 2024-3083.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's just a more, I mean, bonds, that what it is,
The
right?
anticipation.
Yep, it's just the anticipation note, so, yeah, there's two separate ordinances, one for the permanent financing for the bonds,
Okay,
and then this is just for note financing for construction timeline before USDA comes in. So these notes, realistically, you folks will get through design phase, it'll be deep into the construction process before we spend into the notes. So we'll probably delay issuance of those notes until you need it for construction to limit, you know, your interest expense through that construction timeframe will be the plan.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor vote yea, opposed nay.
Four votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Ordinance number 2024-3083 is declared lawfully passed and adopted upon publication as required by law. Our next one is ordinance number 2024-3084, authorizing the issuance of municipal improvement bond anticipation notes and a principal amount not to exceed $5 million to pay the construction costs of ballpark facilities and other improvements authorized by the voters at the city sales tax election held on November 8th, 2023. I introduce ordinance number 2024-3084 by title and ask the clerk to please read the title.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of municipal improvement bond anticipation notes in the amount in one or more series of the City of McCook, Nebraska, of the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $5 million for the purpose of providing interim financing for a portion of the cost of constructing infrastructure improvements, prescribing the form of said notes, agreeing to issue bonds to pay the notes at maturity or to pay the notes from other available funds, entering into a contract on behalf of the city with the holders of said notes, and ordering the ordinance published in pamphlet or electronic form.
Ordinance number 2024-3084 has been introduced, read by title, and I move that the statutory rule requiring readings on 3 different days be suspended.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor vote yea, opposed nay.
Four votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Okay, we have a recommendation for the final passage.
I move for final passage of ordinance number 2024-3084. Second.
Any discussion on this one?
We just talked about it during the public hearing a little bit, but this is going to be funded through the half-cent sales tax that was passed by the voters of McCook in November of 2022. And like I said, we got delayed a little bit as we were trying to work through the process, but I think we kind of have an idea maybe what direction we want to go moving forward. So we're ready to move forward. One of the things, like I had said earlier, we're going to figure out how we're going to pay for this. And a portion of this is going to be paid for through funding sources tied into the general fund. I appreciate Leanne's work kind of going through identifying some areas in the general fund that we can utilize to help pay for the purchase of this land. And that portion of that land, we're going to be able to credit towards the ballpark or prorate it towards the ballpark. It's 127 acres, or 127 acres that we're purchasing. We just got to figure out how much that's going to be ballpark. Originally, we were kind of thinking 50 acres or so, 60, so it's going to be a 60-40 split. We'll kind of figure that out as we kind of work through this process, because we can only utilize it for ballpark complex related purposes. So we got to make sure that we stick to that language. So there will be a portion of the half-cent sales tax that we can use for that. The rest of it, we plan on paying back through the general fund resources that I had mentioned earlier. But we got to get to the point where we can even move forward with this, and this is where Paul, who's helped us with the first phase of this with the swimming pool, he had suggested that we use the anticipation notes, so that way we've got liquidity a little bit quicker, we can move forward with that. We have the ability then to keep it in a shorter period of time, and then we can call it an earlier point. So that way, we can put that to rest. It doesn't mean that's gonna be the entire cost of the project that's gonna be associated. There'll be another ordinance that's gonna come back to you for the construction portion of the ballpark complex. But this gives us the liquidity that we need in order to purchase the property. And like I said, it's not all gonna be through the half-cent sales tax that we utilize, but we gotta get to the point where we can even buy it to begin with. So I appreciate everybody's work on this. Leanne, thank you. Paul, Tara, been doing all the work trying to get us set up. Hopefully, we can get this purchased here shortly, and then we can start with the fun part.
Well, didn't you mention that we have funds in the budget from the sales tax and general funds and then? I mean, that's where the funds are gonna come from.
Part of it, yeah,
Yes.
we've got that, we've got some unused ARPA funds, we've got some reserve funds that I know that we can utilize, and we think we can make this work.
And we'll be able to get grants and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's our plan, yeah, and I might have Paul go ahead and just kind of talk about the anticipation notice, so that way, he can add detail to that.
Okay.
Okay. I just threw my pen away, bear with me. Good evening, Mayor, council members, Paul Grigg with D.A. Davidson. Thank you for having me out this evening. Concept is in line with what Brad Slaughter explained on the combined utility system for different reasons. In this case, it was sort of a liquidity conversation and how do we get through the next couple of months without overissuing debt. So we said, okay, well, let's authorize up to $5 million at the council meeting. We're going to go through some things on our end in terms of getting the bond issue or the note issue, ready for market. And then we'll refine that sizing before we go to market. The notes will be due in late 2026. And I'm kind of blown away here because we're going to borrow money on a short-term basis in the neighborhood of 5. The gentleman over my right shoulder is going to loan you 4-year money at 2 1/8, so I don't understand that. That's where we're at today. So if anybody has any questions on timing, I can walk through kind of some of the next steps that we're anticipating, or answer any questions related.
If the general public wanted to buy these bonds, can they?
The notes, yeah, we certainly could. Generally speaking, what we've done on these, so when we sold the larger bonds with the longer maturity,
Right.
we ran an ad. It was the mayor's idea to run an ad. So we ran the ad, got a little bit of participation, but really, I don't know that we filled orders in a material way. These would be short-term notes. 2-year maturity. There's no prohibition against it, so maybe that's something we talk about over the next few weeks and run those conversations through Nate and Leanne. And if that's something that we want to do, there'd be no prohibition to us running an ad and marketing them to retail individuals. Local banks will get called first. I'm just going slow. I mean, there's no suitability issues. There's no reason why local individuals could not purchase them. It just might be an appetite issue, but yeah, we talked through that.
Usually though, the banks end up buying up pretty much, so don't they?
They tend to do. Are there any
They
bankers in
tend
the
to
room?
do, I know.
Former banker.
I know.
Well, I hesitate a little bit, and my competitor can weigh in too. The banks over the last year and a half have been kind of hit or miss in terms of the issues that they're buying. So I would never speak for Tom Rudnick or any others on what they're looking to buy, but oftentimes they'll support local issues, even if there's business reasons why it doesn't make a ton of sense. So we've just seen less general bank demand, and all my comments are general on the subject probably the last year and a half. But yes, our salespeople have good relationships with banks throughout McCook and Red Willow County, and we give local preference because we like to be able to report that those securities were offered.
They're wonderful bonds because they're tax exempt.
They are wonderful.
I bought a lot of them, I like them.
Well, I can take an order from you right now.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. So we'll work through those details as we
Yeah.
get closer. The idea would be we've got a couple, 2-3 weeks worth of work, and then we'd be prepared to offer them for sale to the public, call it no earlier than mid-July. No reason we have to go that quickly, but that would be about as fast as we'd be comfortable. And then we would want to schedule settlement to align with the city's business needs. So thank you for those questions. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions, anyone? All right. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay.
For votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Ordinance number 2024-3084 is declared lawfully passed and adopted upon publication as required by law. Next item on the agenda is a presentation from Erica Bush with Western Central Nebraska Development District in regards to properties identified to be in violation of McCook's Code of Ordinances.
Good evening. I'm Erica, and I will be presenting on the 2024 McCook nuisance program. I'm going to share my screen.
All right.
Can you see my screen?
Let me see if I can make it bigger.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. Again, good evening. Erica Bush with West Central Nebraska Development District. Tonight I will be presenting for the 2024 McCook nuisance program. It wouldn't work, so I apologize. Okay, there we go. On the agenda for us tonight, we are recommending the following 27 properties to declare a nuisance by resolution. I will be going over these properties individually, but I would like to remind you that by declaring a property a nuisance, it doesn't mean we're going to go tomorrow and abate whatever nuisance items that property would have. That is just moving forward in this program, and it is going to provide the property owner with additional time to clean up. I will send a declared letter with a deadline to be a week before my review, so sometime in July. So again, this just provides the property owner additional time to clean up. First, we have case number 8 with parcel ID 001612800. And the first initial pictures under the case number and the address are just for identification purposes only. This property, you can see, has an unsecured structure to include the skirting along the trailer, as well as scrap wood, scrap metal, auto parts or tools, as well as some more scrap metal or scrap tin and some scrap wood, as well as an auto part to include the tire. Would you like me to quickly or to go through all of the properties, or would you like me to stop at the end of each one? Just keep going?
Let's go through all of them.
Just go through.
Perfect. Okay, case number 10 at 1401 West M Street. And this property has auto parts, tools to include the toolbox, scrap wood, scrap metal, and unlicensed vehicles. Next property is case number 12 at 1207 West 14th Street. This property has auto parts, tires, rims, an engine, scrap metal, scrap wood, a receptacle to include the barrel, inoperable equipment or an unlicensed vehicle. There are car batteries, which appear to be car batteries, underneath the vehicle as well as concrete blocks. Next property, case number 24, 1009 West 13th Street. This property has scrap wood and barrels, buckets, or receptacles. Next property, case number 26, West 13th and J Street. I have heard from this property owner. Unfortunately, the items that still remain are scrap wood, packing crates, scrap metal. The buckets all do have lids on them, so that is of no concern. Talking with the property owner, he said that they were all filled with sand for his business. Next property, case number 27 at 1010 West 12th Street. We have discarded tools, cardboard, receptacles to include the coolers. And I say discarded because these items have remained since the very first initial review at the end of April. They're just rearranged. To include the aluminum vent or piping. Next property, case number 35, and this property has 3 parcels, 3 legal lots, parcel ID 00105 4400, 00105 4300, 00105 4200. While I've had no contact with this property owner, they have cleaned up tremendously. The things that remain are the scrap wood, the scrap metal, the auto parts in the back of the trailer. Trailers are for hauling, not storing, and some discarded vents. Next property, case number 36 at 1407 West Fair Acres Drive. And this property has auto parts to include tires, rims, inoperable machinery, scrap wood, scrap metal. Again, scrap wood, scrap metal, plastic or tattered tarps, chemical containers, various receptacles. Next property, case number 44, 1109 West 12th Street. And this property has a discarded tub or some sort of receptacle on the porch, as well as frames, scrap metal, scrap wood. In their driveway, they do have a cooler and a chemical container, as well as an oil pan and an extension cord discarded. Next property, case number 52 at 1012 Missouri Avenue. This property has an unlicensed vehicles, barrels, buckets, or receptacles, scrap wood, scrap metal, inoperable machinery, and I say inoperable because that piece of machinery has remained since the very first initial review at the end of April in the same position, and there's also some more scrap wood and packing crates, as well as in the driveway there are packing crates. Next property, case number 69 at 1106 West 10th Street. And this property has discarded fencing, brick, block, concrete chunks. Next property, case number 70 at 1104 West 10th Street. And this property has discarded wood, packing crates, tarps, or plastic sheeting. Next property, case number 72 at 1203 Missouri Avenue. In this case, this property has an unsecured structure to include the skirting of the trailer, the mobile home, as well as an unlicensed vehicle, and some scrap wood, next property, case number 78 at 1105 Missouri Avenue. And this property has auto parts to include tires and scrap wood. Next property, case number 85 at 1409 East Fair Acres Drive. And this property has an unsecured structure. Demolition of a mobile home and the remains still remain, so scrap wood, scrap metal. Now this is a health and safety issue, as well as a shopping cart, so to include any scrap metal. Next property, case number 87 at 14 West 14th Street. And this property has an unsecured structure to include the skirting on the mobile home. It has a door frame, discarded boots, I guess you would say. Next property, case number 88 at 1413 West 14th Street. And this property has scrap wood, scrap metal, barrels, buckets, or receptacles. Next property, case number 93 at 1410 West 14th Street. And this property has unsecured structure to include skirting, as well as tires. And discarded, it appears to be carpet and plastic sheeting or tarps on the porch as well. Next property, case number 94 at 1412 West 14th. This property has discarded fencing or scrap metal, as well as buckets, barrels, receptacles. It has discarded items on the porch to include scrap wood, scrap metal, discarded trash to include the carpet box. Next property, case number 100 at 1416 West 15th Street. And this property, well, unfortunately, I haven't heard from I have had no communication from the property owner. They have cleared quite a bit. What remains, scrap metal, scrap wood, auto parts. Next property, case number 101 at 1417 West 16th Street. This property has an unlicensed vehicle, auto parts to include tires, scrap metal. Next property, case number 102 at 1409 West 16th Street. This property has a discarded AC unit or an appliance, as well as some discarded or scrap metal. Next property, case number 103 at 1405 West 16th Street. This property has auto parts to include tires, scrap wood, scrap metal, unlicensed vehicle. Next property, case number 104 at 1401 West 16th Street. This property has scrap wood, auto parts to include the tires, some scrap piping, concrete chunks, or the cinder blocks. Next property, case number 105 at 1308 North Highway 83. And this property, I have had no communication from the property owner, but it appears that a lot of items have moved and gotten closer to public view, to include the barrels, buckets, auto parts, gas cans, tires, engines, scrap metal, scrap wood, plastic sheeting. Next property, case number 107 at 1604 West J Street. This property has a piece of scrap wood. Next property, case number 110 with parcel ID 0010567000. And this property has scrap wood and scrap metal. In summary, we have reviewed 256 properties. I sent out 110 courtesy letters. 52 properties have cleared. 31 properties were given extensions. A majority of those properties I wasn't able to properly review. There is some sort of gas line project or something going on in the alleyways. So I wasn't able to review people, down the alleys. So to be fair and equitable, I gave them an extension until the next review. So I am recommending to declare 27 properties a nuisance tonight. And that'll do it for me for tonight. Any questions?
I guess I have a question more so for city staff than for you. the lot at West 13th and J, how is that zoned? Because there's a beauty parlor across the alley to the east. Is that zoned?
I'm not
commercial?
sure what it's zoned, but I can check.
Okay, I'm just kinda curious. Even if it is commercial, there's ordinances on that, but I'm just curious. Heard that. And,
Yeah.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you very much. Would you like me to stay on? Would you guys like to do the motion?
Erica, would you go back to your slide that has the number of letters you sent out? I didn't get quite all that down.
Sorry, I'm kind of hard of hearing, so it's hard for me to hear.
Can you switch to the previous slide, please?
Yes, thank you. That was very clear. Oops. This slide?
I was just right.
He's just writing it down.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay,
Ready to move to approve the
yes.
resolution?
We
Okay.
have a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 2024-13, approving the designation of nuisance properties as deemed by WCNDD and as declared in the resolution.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any other discussion? Okay, all
I
those
just
in
have a
favor?
question. Were all these photos taken from the street? Nothing was on property?
Correct.
Absolutely. We don't even get out of our vehicles, so it is from public view. So public alleyways or public streets.
Any other questions? Okay. Call the question. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay.
Four votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is
Thanks,
discussion.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you. Discussion regarding increasing the City of McCook's lease payment from MPPD by 0.5%.
This is just a discussion tonight, right?
And if you want, we can bring it back to an action item. It's been a while since we talked about this. I want to say that the contract was a 2018 contract or a 2019 contract. It wasn't included with the material. But that was entered into to replace, I think it was, I can't remember, it's a 25-year contract that we signed with MPPD. And the reason why they needed that kind of time was because they've got some big projects that they may be undertaking, and their concern was, well, if we don't have enough time to go ahead and justify adding these expenses to McCook, it doesn't really make sense for us to enter into this agreement. City of McCook owns its electrical infrastructure, but we lease that out to MPPD. In return, MPPD makes payments to the City of McCook on an annual basis. We use that for a lot of different things. You know, one of the biggest things we earmark that money for is for the employee insurance fund. And so, I mean, it's a pretty important deal for us. One of the things that we've been noticing, and Leanne got it, our payments from MPPD have been going down a little bit. And I think if we go to the agenda item, there's some items attached to it that show over the course of the past year what our receipts. If you pull that
Yeah,
down.
I was looking. This is, so,
That's significant.
So, yeah, so in May of 2023, for the fiscal year 2022-2023, which would have started in October of 2022, we've received $628,850. Compared to that same period of time in fiscal 23-24, we received $592,324, which is approximately a difference of $36,000. We've been talking to MPPD, trying to figure out the reason why, one of the items that probably is attributed to that change or that reduction, MPD applied a production cost adjustment credit to all customers' bills, which would lower the lease payment. But that doesn't explain everything. One of the things that we talked about was, the use of more green or energy efficient appliances, infrastructure, the whole 9 yards, to which they said that could probably be part of the reason why it's been reduced. Not sure exactly why. I mean, I can't give you 100% answer as to why we're seeing less revenue, but we're seeing less revenue. One of the things back in 2018 when we negotiated out the contract, we were allowed to have some flexibility as far as the percentage amount that we requested on an annual basis, not to exceed 14%. I think in 2018, we actually jumped from 12% to 12.5% automatically for the contract, but we still have some wiggle room. It's been probably 4 or 5 years since we discussed this, so we just wanted to bring it back to the council. I know we've been talking about revenue, trying to determine how to add additional revenue to the general fund with the hope of maybe trying to keep property tax down. Obviously, we all are aware of the fact that the still is borne by the users that are utilizing electricity here in the city of McCook. At the same time, it is kind of odd that you'd see a reduction as opposed to an increase. Typically, you're going to see an increase in those payments, but those payments are reducing right now. I think probably the reason is for the reasons why we explained that their price. People may not be using as much energy. I mean, I just don't know. So again, we have the option to go ahead and increase the rate by 0.5%. I know other communities have done that. Scottsbluff, I know, is already at 14%, and they would have started their contract at the same time as us. Talked to Stan Klaus and then our new representative, Grant Fleming. They said some communities have chosen to do so as far as bump up their rate. Other communities have chosen not to do so. It's just a community by community basis. We just wanted to bring it to the council so you guys can make a decision as to what you wanted to do and show you the numbers and kind of let you know where we're at as far as our revenues.
I'd like to see us move forward and increase what we're doing here. I'd like to at least go at least a 0.5%.
Yeah, and you can only go 0.5% in.
Okay, 0.5% we're going to do.
We have to do it 90 days prior to October 1st.
Yeah, and I told them that we couldn't get it in front, because we just had our meeting with them probably a week or 2 ago, and I just wanted to make sure if it wasn't exact. So July 1st will be our next council meeting, so I just wanted to verify to be on the safe side, which should give us 90 days. Figuring in, you've got 31 days in July, 31 days in August, so we would be okay. They were fine with that. Typically, we just think, okay, at the end of June is when we have notification, June 30th, but we won't have one council meeting until July 1st. So that's why I think we got to do it on July 1st in order to meet the requirements of the contract.
And do we have to vote on that? Staff doesn't have it built into the contract.
Yeah, the council has to authorize the 0.5% increase.
Okay.
Anything I'm missing?
Other than it's just steadily been going down
Yeah,
every
no,
year.
like that.
So, yeah.
no, okay. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2024-3080, amending the City of McCook's Code of Ordinances by adding chapter 75, section 75.01 through and including section 75.99 under title 7 Traffic Code. I introduce ordinance number 2024-3080 by title and ask the clerk to please read the title.
An ordinance providing for the amendment of the City of McCook Code of Ordinances, amending Title 7 Traffic Code, adding Chapter 75 Utility Type Vehicles, prohibiting the operation of all train vehicles and allow the operation of utility type vehicles on city streets, and setting forth the provisions under which utility type vehicles may be operated, to repeal conflicting ordinances and sections and provide an effective date.
Ordinance number 2024-3081
3080 has been introduced, read by title, and I move to approve upon its first 3 readings.
Second.
Any discussion?
Might have Kevin come up, Kevin and Tara and Nate have done a lot of work on this.
So what we were working on is trying to mimic as best as we could the UTV ordinances that fit within southwest Nebraska. And so I did some looking at North Platte and tried to come up with some language that would fit, I thought, within the city of McCook, something similar to what's going on in the area, just to stay cohesive with southwest Nebraska. And so that has been put through, working with Nate and Tara, came up with some language for that. Also, we were working on a permitting process. Part of that included an application. There's a little bit of a checklist in there to make sure that we're following within state statute as far as operation of a UTV within the city. That is going to be handled through the police department on an as-needed basis. And then there was a map that I tried to put together to show where the acceptable use of the UTVs would be within town. Based on statute, we have to stay off the highways, which would include P Street, South 6th Street, which is South Highway 83 and North Highway 83. But in the other areas of the city, use will be acceptable. Again, staying within state statute, and probably what I consider best practice would be only allowing crossing of the highways at a traffic signal controlled intersection. And basically we just have safety in mind in that place. I guess, bottom line, how do we keep folks that choose to register their UTV in town safe? And that's kind of what we came up with, so.
And it follows along with state statute.
Correct, correct, that falls within state statute as well. So, basically, in a nutshell, that's what we're looking at.
And we're asking for a little bit of time to incorporate this because we were talking about this while Tara and I and Leanne were at conference. Kevin's been doing a lot of work trying to figure out, okay, how do we go about trying to make sure that we register and we're able to tell, okay, who's keeping up, who's not keeping up, sticker combination, pricing, do you switch color out, do you keep it the same color? It would obviously make it easier for staff, police department, if the colors would change, kind of similar to what you see on the back of the license plate stickers there. Also on our end, just trying to figure out the best way to get people noticed in that, hey, you know what, yeah, you can have a UTV, but you're gonna have to register, there's gonna be a fee, it's gonna have to be reviewed, and this is the way that it's gonna work. So we think probably a little bit of time before we get started makes sense. We did wait for the state of Nebraska to make a decision on whether or not they wanted to do anything. It didn't go through, which our preference was for it to go through the state because we don't license on a regular basis, so it's a little bit different for us. And one of the things that we talked about is we aren't really familiar with UTV, so what do we need to look at? We talked about having conversations with Jim Lewis or other dealers so we know what it is that we need to be looking at, so our guys are trained. But all of it takes some time. So we're thinking probably the beginning of next year would be the date that we want to really start allowing for people to utilize it.
Usually in January?
And that would be on our guys to license them.
Yeah, we would do all that.
So that's an additional duty for the chief, or?
Yeah, the chief's gonna do it all himself. So. Sorry, I forgot what we got to tell you.
So there will be a yearly inspection, Kevin, then, every year? They'd have to have inspected every year, or could they just renew? Once they have it registered, can they come in at January of 2026 and say, get a new sticker?
Well, I think part of the process would be just to make sure that they're passing what needs to be, according to state statute. And you don't know from year to year whether somebody made a modification or, something fell in disrepair. And it would be a matter of education at that point. It wouldn't be that we would want to deny a permit. It would be, hey, we're noticing some deficiencies in your UTV. Please get those corrected so that we can get you registered and properly going. So.
One of the things I want to make sure you point out too, during earlier conversations, Jim Lewis had even mentioned UTVs make sense, ATVs may not so much. This is specific to UTVs, ATVs aren't included in this ordinance. So side by sides, as opposed to typically four-wheeler.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for working on this. This is something that a lot of people are trying to get accomplished.
Is there a way to ask Jim to become an inspector for that, where you become the approval?
There's that possibility, yeah. I guess it would depend on.
To take that off of, the staff.
We actually talked about that at one point in time.
I guess it would depend on whether he's willing to take on that responsibility or not.
Is there a cost for this permit, or am I not seeing?
$100.
Okay. So if we had a private person do it, then they get the $100, or do we split it, or that's something we have to talk about?
We probably have to talk about that because they'd still have to come down to the station or down to the building here and fill out the permit through the department, through the police department. But if they had taken it as far as they could, there's still the fact that we got to go through our checklist. So that might be a discussion item.
And this is just first reading. We don't know part of some more questions.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and I just
Yes.
wanted to add one thing, as far as the fee schedule. It will be after we approve the ordinance, because it's by resolution, not by ordinance, so it will be coming. Yep.
Thank you.
I did just have a couple of quick questions. I agree with the work that's been done on it so far. My first one was on the actual application. So my husband and I jointly own it, and it's asking for a driver's license. On that, is that mine, his? Do we both need to fill one out?
Either of the owners can fill
Right,
it out.
I think either one, as long as there's a licensed operator that has a valid driver's license.
So, and then if I would loan it out to somebody else, say my sister is doing my business in it, I assume that liability for her, as does my insurance company.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, and then the only other question I had was on the inspection, are we gonna do a January to December 31st?
Yes, I believe
Not
it's
just
a calendar year.
August to August?
No, I believe it's a calendar year from January to December.
Okay, thank you.
Just for does that fluctuate if they didn't license until August? It would be done in January, correct? That's what I thought, okay.
And the other thing this kind of does, it kind of helps with, we had questions on prorating and things like that, so this is going to keep it simpler as far as that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I should say that I will still be petitioning the state to pass this in their next session as well, because I think it will provide more clarity for the local municipalities as well as for the UTV owners.
It would help a lot.
It would.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I think we had talked about where it'd be nice if the state would come in and say, well, wait a second, we gotta make sure, we're treating people the same. How do we do that without, getting crossways with the state statute? So that's kind of where we're at. That was always one of my biggest concerns was
But this, I think, does help because the more cities and municipalities that allow this, the state sees the direction that the people want to go.
Thank you.
This is just the first of 3 readings, so this has to come out, right?
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, let's have the vote. All those in favor vote yes, opposed nay. Okay, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2024.
Four votes cast yea, no votes cast nay. Sorry, you're in too big of a hurry.
I am, yes. Okay, ordinance number 2024-3081, amending section 95-35, weeds, litter, stagnant water. I introduce ordinance number 2024-3081 by title and ask the clerk to please read the title.
An ordinance of the City of McCook, Nebraska, amending the City of McCook Code of Ordinances, Chapter 95, entitled Nuisance, Health and Sanitation, Section 95.35G, weeds, litter, stagnant water, adding subsection F, listing specific nuisances to provide that this ordinance shall be made a part of the City of McCook Code of Ordinances, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith, and providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Ordinance number 2024-3081 has been introduced, read by title, and I move to approve upon its first of 3 readings.
I'll second that. Is there discussion?
So this actually was brought to us by Debbie Thorpe. When we contracted with West Central to help out with nuisance abatement, they took a district. They can only take one district at a time. And so they took a district on the northwest side of McCook, and so you saw a lot of those addresses that were similar. That's the district that West Central is going to help us out with, and then on an annual basis, they'll flip from district to district to district, depending on what we need help with. Can't remember how many districts there were here, do you remember?
Not for sure.
20, maybe, almost. Yeah, there's like 15 to 20 other districts that we're managing right now. The problem was, when we adopted the ordinance that West Central required for them to be able to do the work they wanted to, we were able to address our health board process for the other however many districts that they had assigned. One of the things that we missed out on, or didn't catch, was just your general weeds and litter and stagnant water problems that we deal with on a fairly regular basis. And the concern was we didn't have the authority to handle some of the concerns and issues that we handled in the past since we modified the ordinance. So Debbie and I sat down and we just kind of went through our ordinances, and we did have a section 95.35 that specifically dealt with weeds, litter, and stagnant water. And basically, we thought based on what we already have covered under that section, all we really had to do was add a section F, which if we scroll down, it's under G, so it's 95.35 GF, which listed all the specific nuisances listed in section 95.02 in the code. They became included with the definition of litter, so that way we could do the other things we need to do, whether it was, junk in the yard, whatever the case may be. Otherwise, we were going to struggle, I think, there to challenge putting some of these to court. So I felt better about it afterwards. I think Debbie felt better moving forward as the nuisance abatement coordinator, dealing with some of these issues. So that's all we're asking, is just the addition of subsection F to 95.35G, so that way we've got the ability to deal with some of those weeds and junk kind of issues.
Any other discussion? Okay. We have a motion? All those in favor, vote yea, opposed nay.
Four votes cast yea, no votes cast nay.
Okay, next Next item, update regarding the swimming pool project and the ballpark project.
Okay, I will do the swimming pool. We had a progress to date meeting on June 10th, so about a week ago. At that time, they had finished the installation of the slides. The shade posts were installed. The fencing at Filter Building was complete. There was a mow strip formed on the west side. There were fencing settings posts on east side. Pool has 2 coats of paint on it. All of the pool deck is complete. The storage room is painted. The drywall is done. The pumps are set. The recirculation line from the pump to filter is complete. And additional utility conduit line is installed. And that was, like I said, a week ago, and we can all see they are still working very hard, trying to get it completed, and it's looking great. I know there is a lot of excitement in the community as it gets near to be finished.
Ballpark. The discussion that we had earlier is kind of where we're at right now. So once we pass those ordinances and we're able to go ahead, or that ordinance, we're able to go ahead and acquire liquidity through the anticipation notes, we're going to be ready to go. And then also working on the purchase agreement. That'll be one of the things that we've got here upcoming on the council.
So Tara, have they said when they think maybe we can open?
They have not given a definite date. I know, if I remember correctly, she was gonna see how far they got by the end of this weekend and then set up another meeting for her to come down here and, do some more looking into it, and we were all gonna meet up, and hopefully she'll give us a date, a for sure date then. But there was no reason she gave us that it wouldn't still be the beginning of July at this point.
And on the operation side, we did have a meeting between the new pool operator, which is gonna be Rennell Mooney, and the lifeguards today. So I think they're kind of getting everything figured out on their end, what Rennell's expectations are gonna be, figuring out the staffing side. I don't know, is there another course that's being offered, one more course that's being offered at the YMCA?
I think there was.
Yeah.
At the Y?
At the Y.
At the
Yeah.
end of June.
Yes.
I saw it, yeah, there's another,
Don't we have enough lifeguards to?
Well, I would like to see probably 15, 16 lifeguards. I know it's a shorter period, but just with everybody's schedules, it'd be nice if we had a few more. I'd love to have 18, so we could have like a 2-for-1 number. That's gonna at least require 9 people at any given time to be out there if we're fully operational, just based upon what the state of Nebraska is gonna require. I think we had 11, yeah. So we're sitting pretty good right now. Abby's gonna get out there, I already told her.
Nope.
You volunteered her?
I volunteered her. So she's just
I don't
looking
like
for a
water
class.
All right, then next item we have is council comments. Any
No,
comments?
wait a minute. I have a public comment that had nothing, it is not pertaining to the subject of the public hearing, nor was it one of the agenda items. But I think it needs to be brought to the attention of this.
So, according to open meeting laws, the only thing that can be discussed by the council or the public are things that were published and given notice on. If you have specific items, staff is always willing to meet with you during office hours, Monday through Friday. And then if it still requires a agenda item, there is a process to go through
Okay,
for
you
that.
got, okay, because you guys are violating city ordinance. McCook City is violating city ordinance.
So
Very
if-
simple.
if
So
there are
who do I need
issues,
to talk to? Who do I need to meet with?
Tomorrow,
Nate Snyder?
stop by the city office and staff will get you pointed to the right person to handle your specific issue. There's different departments that handle different
I
issues.
understand that.
So staff at the front window will hook you up with the correct person that will deal directly with your issue. And from there, if we still need to have an agenda item, there's a process, an application to get on the agenda to discuss your item.
So if we can't help you, then you can come to the council.
Well, I think it's gonna be brought to council, because I think it needs to be, because it is it is a city ordinance,
That's
so,
fine. Yeah,
So-
we'll talk to you.
okay.
So just schedule a time, come on down tomorrow, we'll figure out who you need to speak with and we'll get it scheduled.
Okay,
Thanks, Jason.
Okay, anything else? Okay. An executive session may be held upon majority vote of the council for the protection of public interest for a strategy session with respect to real estate purchase for